6300, I need immediate help at Bear Creek.
I copy, it'll be at Bear Creek. Is it a medical aid, sir?
I think I've been shot at the maintenance yard.
She said, copy 6300 down from a gunshot wound. I just flipped my lights on. When it's a family member, you bomb in, you care less. You're not thinking of shooter, you're not thinking of anything other than the person that's down. Chief Shobert was family, and we care less what was happening around us. Actually didn't even think about it.
As we pulled up, the things that were going through our head is that he was shot. So the scene that we're potentially going into was a scene where we're putting ourselves in danger as well. Our primary objective was treating him and taking care of him to give him the best chances of survival. The whole left side of his face was just disfigured. You can see right through his cheek. You could just see his jaw. You could just see the inner parts of his face that should be covered by skin. You could see the fear in his eyes that I'm gonna die. I kept repeating myself to him, just look at me. We got you. We're gonna take care of you.
My phone kept going off, my cell phone, because I was doing the interview on a landline. And I thought, what is going on? And so I finally ended the interview and listened to some of the messages, and then spoke to one of the firefighters, Ryan Roofs, who said Matt's been in an accident and I needed to come to the emergency room.
I woke up face down in the dirt. I don't know if it's 2 seconds, 2 minutes, or 20 minutes later. I remember trying to get up, and I remember not being able to get up. I was like, and tried again, and that's when I noticed I was bleeding profusely. Bleeding to death, actually, and I didn't know what happened, but I knew I had to do something. It's very traumatic when you're by yourself in the middle of nowhere, bleeding to death, and you catch a glimpse of your face, and basically the bottom third of my head was missing. Grabbing my mic to talk on the radio, and I remember holding my face together as best I could, held the radio up, and I radioed in, this is 6300, I think I've been shot. I need immediate medical attention.
Believe it to be a gunshot.
I copy possibly that the chief has possibly been shot.
They stabilized him, and then they took me back into the room where I could see Matt, but he was unconscious and had tubes in his mouth and was all covered up here, and I just still couldn't grasp what was going on. And then the surgeons came in and said that they couldn't handle taking care of him at their hospital. They needed to fly him to Loma, which was a level 1 trauma hospital, and that Dr. Herford, this famous oral maxillofacial surgeon, was on duty, and that he would get the best care with him.
The helicopter was coming, everything was lining up. I remember when he got sedated, we said some things to him before he went out, that he was going to be okay, that we were praying for him, and we love him.
When Mr. Shobert came in, it was a life-threatening injury. He was airlifted into Loma for treatment, and he had a large loss of tissue, and so initially we thought, well, it was probably a gunshot wound, but then found out that it was actually a large projectile or a large rock that had struck the jaw.
It wasn't until later on that we found out that it was actually not a shooter, that it was actually a rock that was propelled from a brush clearing mower that actually injured Chief Shobert.
His was as bad or worse than most of the gunshot wounds that we treat, just because of the contamination, but also because of the severity that he was hit with the projectile, and the amount of damage. I mean, it was, again, on the CT scan and the x-rays, the bone had disintegrated. The initial surgery was probably about 4 hours. I mean, it was a matter of decontaminating the wound, cleaning everything out, trying to find and salvage what portions of bone that we could, and we combined that with small plates and screws made out of titanium to be able to kind of hold the pieces back together and basically rebuild that side of his face. Realizing that we would have to come back later and he would need multiple surgeries, and we spoke with his family about this as well. We work with residents that also assist and help with the surgeries. They were there as well as the rest of the medical team, the nurses, assistants, and anesthesiologists. And we all worked together to put him back together. And I remember some of the residents that was there commenting that this was the most severe or the worst type of injuries that they had seen up until that point of their training.
We just continued seeing Dr. Herford and his team at LLU School of Dentistry. and they were amazing. They would sit and pray with us. They would make sure I was okay, make sure he was okay, and just were so compassionate. They answered every question. I would come in with a list of questions every time, and they would answer those questions and take the time. I mean, I was amazed. Dr. Herford would spend 45 minutes with us at times. It was phenomenal. Most doctors don't do that.
His staff of residents, just professional, compassionate, and empathetic and caring. In fact, one of his residents pulled me aside a couple months into my recovery and could tell I was hypervigilant and easy to sadness, easy to anger. And he kind of whispered in my ear that perhaps I should check with my personal physician about the possibility of having acute traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder, and I did that, and in fact I do, and was able to get some treatment.
Matt also was diagnosed with PTSD, and from a spouse standpoint, that's very, very hard. I know I can sympathize with many veterans and military wives. People don't realize how impactful it is on your life, where the person you knew changes. They're not the same person, they're a different person. It's pretty brutal. I know that my saving grace truly was God. I truly got more religious than I've ever been in my entire life, where I prayed more than I've ever prayed, and I still pray to God to help give me strength. I read the Bible daily. It's been my saving grace. Matt's also gotten help with therapists and counselors and medicine, and that's helped stabilize a lot.
I'd say a couple things really helped Matthew as far as his ability to heal. The first one is his support system. His wife Tammy, all of the other firemen supporting him, and that's really important as far as the healing process, I think, for any patient. The other thing is his age, but also he exercises, he runs, he's done Ironman in the past. As a surgeon, if you have patients that have those things, it really, you put things back together, but it really helps with the healing process.
Thought Matt would be a fire chief forever and we would do our life like that, and this injury threw us in a different direction. I know that together our goal is to really help other people.
I have a lot to offer the fire service, maybe not in the form of extinguishing fires, but helping with the mental health component. I'm sharing my story with whoever wants to listen, because there's more firefighters in the United States that die from their own hands than there is in the line of duty.
We've used Butters, our dog, to start a Facebook page to help share what PTSD is and just really support Matt in getting that message out is what we want to do. We want to just give back and make a difference from that perspective to help people.
But the good thing is I've learned to slow down, kind of take life on life's terms instead of trying to enforce my terms on life. That doesn't work too well. Learning to enjoy life a little bit more, I think, than I did before my injury. Prior to my injury, I came up with this saying, today's physical, mental, and emotional preparation determines tomorrow's performance. Train like your life depends on it, because it does. And sure enough, my training, like my life depends on it, saved my life. Loma Linda University School of Dentistry saved my life.